Welcome to Garden Delights. I'm Susan Howington, Family Consumer Science Agent with the Henry County Cooperative Extension, partnership with the University of Georgia Cooperative Extension. Today we're going to talk about okra, and we're also going to hear from Frank Hancock, our Agriculture and Natural Resource Agent, and he's going to talk about okra also. We'll see him out in the garden. So we'll see you back in just a little bit on Garden Delights. Welcome back to Garden Delights. Today we're talking about okra, and you know, I wish okra you could get it in the garden now all year around, but you can't. But when you can get it out of the garden, I am A+ all the way with some okra. It's like when I plant my garden, I tell my husband, we have to have okra. I love okra, and it is really, really good for you. These pods right here are something you need to put into your nutrition diet. They are wonderful as far as giving you some fiber. As far as saturated fat, it's going to be free of saturated fat, cholesterol free, sodium, very, very low in sodium, very good, and a very good source of vitamin A and C. And so when you're eating these, just think about all that good nutrition you're getting from just okra. Now, okra, as far as pods go, you're eating about 7 pods. So I have 4 right here, but about 7 pods. That's going to be about 25 calories, so you can eat a lot of okra as far as keeping your calories down. When you're selecting your okra, even if you're going to buy it at the grocery store, I want you to think about the size. Size is important when you're buying okra or you're picking your okra. And when you're cutting that okra off, it's important because okra grows very fast in the summer. You may pick it on Tuesday, and by Thursday, you got to go back and pick it again. Because what you're looking for when you're picking your okra, as far as your selection at the grocery store or at your garden, look for small pods. And when I say small, I'm talking about 3 to 4 inches long. The longer they get, the tougher it's going to be. So when you're looking for them at the grocery store, make sure you look for small pods. Flip the container over, look at the bottom side, see what you have in the container. When you're picking your on, I will tell you the smaller the better. The large, you're probably going to have a tough time because they're going to be too tough and you're not going to be able to eat them. And not only that, but you just wasted some good okra, and I don't want you to do that. So as far as what okra can, as far as the storage part of it, in your refrigerator, it'll stay about three days, maybe 1 day longer, but 3 days is probably what we want to say as far as keeping it there. But hopefully in those 3 days, you've come up with a recipe you're going to use, or okra freezes very well. And so the winter months come and you want some of your okra out of your garden, which tastes really, really good, it freezes very well. So keep that in mind if you're trying to figure out what to do in those 3 days. When we come back, we're going to join Frank out in the garden, and you're going to get to see some wonderful okra that he has been growing. So we'll see you back in just a little bit on Garden Delights.
Okay, today we're back up here in the community garden. I thought we'd talk a little bit about okra. Okra is blooming. It's gonna be producing right on up till frost. Okra is a tropical kind of a plant, so it likes the warm and the hot weather. Sometimes if you try to plant okra too early in the season when the soil's still cold, you run into a few problems. It can get some damping off kind of problems and other funguses that get on it, but generally it is a major trouble-free plant. We do have some insect pests that will get on it. We'll see here in this garden that we got a few sharpshooters. Sharpshooters are little tiny bugs that you see usually face down on the stem. And they are plant juice sucking bugs, and they will cause damage to the okra pod if you get a heavy enough population. And we also have leaf-footed bugs. We've talked about leaf-footed bugs some in the past. They also get on okra. And marmorated stink bugs, all of those can get on the okra. The leaf-footed bugs and the stink bugs and the sharpshooters, they all suck juice out of these plants. And when they get on the okra pod, they will make your pod curl. So if you're seeing a lot of curled okra pods that are not straight, you better be looking for these insects, because they're in there working on your plant. In addition to that, we get some ants on them. I'm standing here with my back to some that have some ants on it. That's why I think I have some ants on me, but that's okay. So ants, we can generally control the ants by getting down low on the stem and just spraying for them so that they can't have access to come up to the top where the fruit is. We don't have to spray any fruit or any flowers or anything that might interfere with any of our pollinators, but we can spray down low on the plant once it gets started. Okra likes a pH of around 6. It can be 5.8 to 6.8, but in that same range as the rest of your vegetable garden. Fairly drought resistant, although you need to water it when it's really dry. Okra will outproduce you. It'll outproduce your desire to pick it. So when you plant okra, you need to be determined that you're going to pick some okra, because once it starts producing, these flowers on it, they are pretty, and they only bloom one time. They bloom one day, and then they make an okra pod. And that okra pod can grow 2 or 3 inches a day. So you got to pick okra at least every other day. If you skip a day, you're going to get pods that are too long and too tough. So it is best, and we'll turn here to show you, it is best about in this stage right here when it's about this length. Either one of those would be fine. We'll see some others back in here in a minute they've just gotten too long. We just picked this about 2 days ago. We picked this okra, and so it grows out of control. You wind up throwing a few pods away just because they got a little bit tough. So you got to be determined that you're going to keep up with your okra, and it'll really produce for you. So if we take some of these, and this okra's gotten a little bit tall, it does that. I don't worry about that. We just pull it over and pick the okra. May have had a little too much nitrogen on it back in the beginning. It caused it to just keep on getting tall. But the best pods are going to be your shorter pods, not your long pods. So we'll go through here. In fact, we're going to pick a batch through here that Susan can use, because I think she's cooking something with okra today also. So okra also, I plant my okra just a little bit closer together than might be recommended. In fact, University of Georgia has got a brochure on growing okra that is a good brochure to tell you how to grow it. But I kind of like it when it's a little bit closer. You see, this bed has not been weeded at all. Weeds just don't like to get in here. The okra doesn't allow weeds to grow around it if it's planted thick enough. So we're going to go through here and harvest some okra. It's like I say, it's easy to grow. You just got to be prepared to harvest okra. Susan's going to talk to you about the nutritional value of it. And I think what we're going to do right now is we're going to go in and see what Susan is fixing in the kitchen.
Welcome back to Garden Delights. Now we're talking about okra, and I will say this okra came from Frank's garden. So Frank has a green thumb when it comes to okra. So I was telling you earlier about cutting okra up if you're going to use small pods. So I have washed this okra, and that's important that you do wash your fruit, whatever you're going to be using. I'm going to set this over here. So what we're going to do is going to cut this okra. And one thing I do want to tell you is I'm going to go ahead and just nip the ends off just a little bit. when you're going to do the fritters, we're going to make okra fritters, you don't want to cut it like you're going to fry okra. So you want to kind of cut it on the small side as far as thin part of it. So that's what I'm going to do. And this is about, when I add all this, and what you're looking for in the okra when you're chopping it up is you're looking for about 2 cups. So that's what I'm looking for. So I'm going to go ahead and get these chopped off and put in there. And okra likes to stick to you. It's like glue. So that's one funny thing about okra. I do like it cooked different ways, and there's so many ways out there that you can cook it that makes it tasty no matter how you're going to cook it. But just keep this in mind when you're going to add this to the bowl that I'm adding to, that you want to cut it kind of thin so you can kind of see that I'm not cutting it really thick, because the fritters, you don't want it really thick because you want it to blend in, and also you don't want your okra just really thick so it also fries up a little even. So that's important also. So I'm going to get one more done. And this is a wonderful size. And I know you can't tell, but when they're small, they're very tender also, and they just cut up so easy. So I just about have this one already finished out. Okay, so I can get it off of me. Like I said, it's like glue. So I'm going to move this over to a paper towel and see if I can just use my little cutting board to store my bowl on. So I finished that. I'm going to set this to the side. All right, so for the fritters, they're really easy. But I'm going to tell you some things that I would do, because I was telling you about it has like a glue to the okra. First of all, you need a skillet, and I put just a little bit of oil, and I also sprayed it too with some cooking spray. So I'm going to go ahead and cut my pan up just a little bit, because I do want it to be warm once I put my fritters in. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off, before we ever put the okra in, we're going to mix everything else up. So this is about 1.5 cups of cornmeal. And then you're going to also add about 1/2 cup of self-rising flour. And then I'm going to do this. It's going to be a little different. I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle. This is salt, pepper, and garlic. And I'm going to kind of sprinkle it on the okra, because this is going to kind of help too with the sticky part of it. We're also adding a very small, finely chopped onion to all of it. Let's see if I can get me a spoon out, or a spatula or one, to get all of it out of the bowl. And this onion smells really good. Okay, also, I've got just a little bit of sugar, and it's only about 1 teaspoon of sugar. And this is just going to add just a little sweet to it, but not much at all. So I'm going to add that. And then, just to kick it up a little bit, but not a whole lot, I've just got about 1 teaspoon of a little bit of hot sauce. So I'm going to go ahead and pour that in also. And if you like it hotter, you know, you can always add to it. So it just depends on what you want to do. And then I also have 1 egg. So I'm going to go ahead and pour that egg in. See if I can get these stacked really well. And then to this, before we add our okra, I have some buttermilk, and this is about 1.5 cups. Now I'm not going to pour all of it at one time, because I really want to see how this is going to mix up, because I'm going to end up folding in the okra at the end of it. So I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of the buttermilk and move this around just to kind of see where I am, because you don't want you want them to be kind of stay together as far as the fritters go. You don't want them too loose. So I always say, when you add your liquid, add it as little as a time, so you can kind of keep up where you want the consistency and everything. Just going to add just a little bit more. We'll stir this around, and it's looking really good. I wish you could smell it. Even the onion in the batter is really nice smelling. I'm going to keep moving it around. And you can see I add just a little bit of that hot sauce. You can't even tell I did. So like I said, if you really want it even hotter, you can always add to it. So I think I'm going to have to add all the milk, which is going to be fine, because I'm going to add the okra also. I'm going to set this here. And it's looking really good. And I will tell you too, sometimes when you're mixing, I call it like fritters or anything like this kind of mixture, it's really good if you can mix it up and let it set, because it does rise a little bit, and it also to me it makes it a lot lighter in that part of it. So I almost have this. Oh, and I tell you, the buttermilk in it smells really good. If you like buttermilk, it smells really good. So now I'm going to add the okra, and remember I already put the, like I call it a season, it's salt, pepper, and a little bit of garlic, and it just kind of spices it up. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in, the okra in, and this is going to make a pretty good bit of fritters. So let's see if I can stack this one. And I think I'm going to get this one off too. If I can get it over to the side. See if I can just stack it inside there. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and move this into the batter. And see, this is a perfect batter because it's not too loose, enough for you to be able to scoop up and put into your pan. And so that's going to work out really good. And then you may have to add just a little oil, or you may have to add a little bit more of your cooking spray too. So let's get the okra all mixed in, because I do want the salt, the pepper, and the garlic mixed in with the batter also. All right, that looks really good. And I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to move this down to the side, down here, just out of the way for a second, so I have more space. Okay, so it's going to tell you also on the recipe to add a little bit of paper towel to your platter you're going to put them on. So what I'm going to tell you on the recipe too, it tells you a little bit. I'm going to just move this around because it is heating up pretty good. So I'm going to try one. This is about 1/4 of a cup, and that's about what you want. Let's see if I can move this over here so I won't make such a mess. So let's see what we got here. Just going to kind of even it out. Going to try another one, and it won't take long. We just want it to get brown, so I'm going to bump it up just a little bit more on my heat. And they're just coming out really nice. They are, it's not too runny. It's sticking out as far as sticking together as far as the fritters go. And I think I might be able to work one more in there, but I don't get too much in my scoop, but I think I can. Oh, and they smell really good. So I have these going. Keep up with your heat, depending on what you're cooking with, because you don't want them to burn. You also want them to get brown on the other side, so when you flip them, they are staying together, so that's important too. So I don't want to mess with them too much because I just put them in. So I'm going to let them just sit here for a little bit until I feel like they're firm, but you can see they're moving around in the pan really nicely, so that's a good thing. And these will make, you know, as many as you want. You can double your batch if you have a lot of people coming over, bigger skillet if you want to. So either way will be good as far as cooking your fritters. And the good thing is you're still getting a wonderful fiber in your diet by eating the fritters, because okra is great in fiber. Let's see what we got here. If I can just help it over. I'm going to try to flip this one out, making a mess. There we go. There's one. See if I can get this one over. And it's a nice brown too, without getting too messy. Now these I put on just a little bit longer, so I think I'm going to wait on those. And yes, you're probably going to have paper towels just to wipe your fingers off every once in a while too. Aren't they nice looking though? And you can see that wonderful okra in it. Gives a little bit of green taste, texture, and look to it. So it really is not going to take that long once you get the heat going in your pan to fry these up. And then I'm going to try my best to turn this one over because I think it's about ready. There we go. We got one more. That was a big one, so I'm going to let it go a little bit longer. Wonderful color to it. And, you know, if you wanted to, you could even make up some type of sauce to go with it, to eat with them also. And if it was my son eat them, he'd probably have syrup on top of them. All right, let's try this one and see if I can get this one scooped up. Oh, yeah. And you can pretty much, you'll be able to take your spatula, kind of push down on them. You can just about feel, if you cook pancakes, you kind of know what I'm talking about. You'll feel where it gets kind of firm, so it'll be ready to take off. And like I say, it's really important when you're doing this, as you can see, the fritters work really nicely if your okra is cut on the thin side too. Right, I'm gonna try to take these off. And you're kind of looking for something on both sides, so I can't really, I see if I can hold it and show you. So you want a little brown on both sides. And this should be ready also, the smaller one. And also, I will tell you this, when they're cooking too, you'll be able to tell too, the okra is gonna turn a nice color. And this one's about done too. So I'm gonna go ahead and take these off. And we have 4 done. I am going to add just a little bit more oil. And we'll just start another batch. I'm also going to use a little bit of spray because I try not to use as much oil, so I'm going to get a little bit of my spray and I'm going to add to the pan also. Just to kind of keep it where it doesn't stick. I'm going to kind of push this around a little bit. Just to kind of make sure my pan, and it's hot also. So here we go, another batch. And I can hear it sizzling. While they're cooking, let's go get Frank, because I know he's going to want one that's hot. So we'll see you back in just a little bit on Garden Delights. Welcome back to Garden Delights. Well, Frank, I will say your okra looks mighty fine this year.
Okra's doing good.
It really is.
You know, it's the kind of the gift that just keeps on giving. It just keeps on growing. You have to keep on cutting it.
That's right.
And then somebody has to keep on eating it.
That's right. And we're going to eat some. So I've made okra fritters, so grab one. And
Okra
just don't
fritters,
burn your
I
mouth
never
on
had
it.
an okra fritter.
Well, I hope you enjoy it. You'll have to tell me what you think. I cut the okra on the small size because I want it to be where it's there, but not too thick. That is good.
It is good. Got okra in it.
And I know you'd probably like some syrup on it probably too, wouldn't you?
Well, I was just thinking about that. You know, we could make some okra pancakes.
Mm-hmm. That's really good.
In fact, that may be what this is.
That is really good. It's really tasty.
We just need the syrup.
That's right. That's exactly right.
That really is good.
You will love this recipe. It's so easy to make. Check out the website because you're going to want to put it in your recipe box. And Frank and I will see you next time on Garden Delights.
And don't forget what they always say.
What's that, Frank?
You already forgot.